Welcome, everyone. Good evening. This is the Littleton Trust Fund Scholarship Awards Ceremony. It's something we do every year, and Trust Fund Commissioners are very happy to do this each year. My name is Stephen Venuti. I'm one of the Trust Fund Commissioners. Do a little introductions before we get started here. Tyler Gray. He's the chair of the Trust Fund Commissioners. Fred Faulkner. He's the Trust Fund Commissioner and part of the selection committee. We have Larry Wenz. He's on the selection committee, and the rest of the people on the selection committee, Stephen Gentilly, again, Mary Herndon, and Melinda Hubas. We're honoring 16 graduates, college attendees tonight, because not everybody's a high school graduate here. We have 8, I think it's split, 8 and 8, between people in school now and people who are just going in. We do have somebody coming in. Okay, yeah. We may have somebody here, a recipient of, I think, 4 years in a row. Just to give a little rundown of her life in college and what people can expect and what they can expect after college too. So hopefully Katie will be coming soon. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler Gray, the chair of the Trust Fund Commissioners.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to tell you a little bit about what the trust funds are and the role of the trust fund commissioners in town. The scholarships being awarded tonight come from the FM Kimball and the Morrison funds, as most of you probably are aware. They're just 2 of 30 funds that we have left in trust in the town. Most of the funds have been given a specific purpose, specific funds that were directed by the benefactor when those funds were given to us. Many of the other funds direct income directly to different functions within the town. For example, some of the funds fund the Cemetery Commission, the Littleton Library that we're in now, Littleton Lyceum, the public schools, and also the Littleton Scholarship Trust, which is another scholarship mechanism in town outside of what we give here. The Morrison Fund, which is one of our scholarship funds, is actually the newest fund in town. It was a really generous donation that was given, but some of the funds in town go back as far as 1929. One of the roles that we have, actually 2 main roles that the Trust Fund Commissioners have. One is making sure that we honor the wishes of the benefactors that have given money to the town, right? Really important. We spend a lot of time going through the actual trust documents that were given to the town, and have spent, a lot of time just being really thoughtful in how education is given out or how the different funds offset needs in the town. The other really important role that we serve is making sure that the endowments last. A lot of these funds, were started out in 1929 with $10,000, right, and are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars now, and have impacted the town and the lives of a lot of students. So that's a responsibility we take really seriously in our role. A couple things that we do to accomplish that. We have an investment policy in town, or that the commissioner set. Really, it's just around what we want for risk tolerance and how we invest and treat that money. And then we also have a team of investment advisors that we meet with on a regular basis, make sure that they're meeting both our goals for income to fund things like the scholarships, as well as following our investment policy to make sure we're consistent with that and risk and how we want those funds to be sustained. At the end of every year, the commissioners meet and we look at the prior year's performance, we look at the goals of the town, and we make some decisions around how much money we can sustain to give out to both, our goal, typically every year our goal is to give out the same amount of money as we gave in years past or increase that. We've been fortunate. Hopefully the stock market will turn around this year and be good to us again. But our biggest thing is just making sure that these gifts keep on giving, right? That we're not being irresponsible with the money and the wishes of those that gave money, can be a real legacy for the town. Through the process, it's specific to the scholarships that we're talking about tonight. We've been fortunate enough to be able to support the FM Kimball Fund for 26 years. So it was founded 26 years ago. It's helped 158 different scholarship recipients and has given out a total of just under $265,000. And then the Morrison Fund is only 9 years old. Again, I mentioned that was the newest fund, but that's given out $340,000 to 57 recipients in just 9 years. So a real legacy these funds leave for the town, a real impact on students and the town as a whole. The last thing, before I turn things over to Larry Lenz, who will give some history on the benefactors of these two funds, I wanted to really thank the selection committee. It really they show so much dedication and hard work. You guys all went through it, right? I haven't been fortunate enough to go through the scholarship selection process. I've seen kind of from afar what they do, but it's such a thoughtful process, and I really just wanted to thank you guys for helping us get this right every year as commissioners and really making it a meaningful experience that we should all take pride in. So thanks. And with that, I'll turn it over to Larry for the important stuff.
I suppose a sign of the times I'm going to take my glasses off to read. And it's only 20 pages long, but it's double-spaced, extra large print. This is always a special moment during this ceremony. I'd like to begin with several deserved acknowledgments. A word of thanks to the Commissioners of Trust for their stewardship of the funds entrusted to them. Also a note of gratitude to Diane Corey, the Town Clerk, and her staff, along with Sean O'Brien, the Town Treasurer, and his staff, for their administrative support and guidance during the scholarship cycle. Additionally, Sam Alvarez and the Reuben Hoare Library for enabling us to conduct the finalist interviews that you attended, and to hold tonight's ceremony in this wonderful new facility. Finally, to my colleagues on the selection committee, the commitment of your time and talents to the scholarship endeavor go far beyond due diligence in the quest to determine scholarship recipients. Thank you all. We're gathered here tonight to announce the individuals who will receive scholarships from the FM Kimball Second Scholarship Fund and John and Eunice Morrison Scholarship Trust. These awards are made possible because of three individuals who recognize how they could touch the future. So here are some of the basics about Vincent Cooper, John Morrison, and Eunice Morrison. Vincent Cooper was a lifelong resident of Littleton. Born, raised, lived, and died on the family farm on Great Road. He graduated as a salutatorian from Littleton High School, received an undergraduate degree from what's now known as UMass Amherst, and continued with graduate studies at Virginia Polytech. This foundation of etymology and geography enabled him to become a successful farmer in his hometown and in Georgia and Florida. He died in September 1998 at the age of 82. John Morrison was born in Dorchester and graduated from Stoneham High School. He attended the University of Vermont but did not complete his studies. He began working as a carpenter and after a time demonstrated the skills and talents required to run a construction business. Following military service in World War II, he eventually advanced to senior management in charge of field operations for a Boston-based construction firm. And as Fred mentioned to me earlier, in some of the research that he's been able to do, he was clerk of the works for several of the now ancient buildings that served as municipal offices. Upon his retirement, he purchased an apple orchard here in Littleton. He died in September of '95 at the age of 93. Eunice Morrison has a life story that no one seems to know much about. She was born in North Adams, Mass. And was the wife of John Morrison. Even a write-up in the Old Littleton Independent doesn't contain a whole lot of information about her. It does describe in detail how she was the driving force behind the efforts that enabled the town of Littleton to purchase the orchard at the intersection of Nagog Hill Road and Natroba Road. And that article can only state that she was in her 90s when she died in August of 2004. This information about our benefactors is useful to know, but it really doesn't tell us about who they were. I'd like all of you to hold and pause for a few moments to consider the following. Character is what you do when you think no one is watching. In legacy, it's about the richness of an individual's life, including what the person has accomplished and the impact he has had on people and places. The history of a person's life reflects his or her legacy. Primary sources provide the most diverse and accurate commentary. These sources can be family members, neighbors, co-workers, friends, business associates, etc., etc. With each passing year, the opportunity to gather commentary from such sources diminishes. It's been, for all intents and purposes, 2 decades since the collective passing of our scholarship benefactors. Thus, obtaining first-hand commentary is difficult. Needless to say, we can only make assumptions about who each of them really were, while we have a clear picture of what they did. Eunice Morrison had a life story worth telling, but no one seems to know about it. She apparently had no children, and at the time of her passing was survived by a half-sister in her family. We don't know how long she and John were married, but I feel it's safe to say that she was no wallflower and probably handled him with a simple, yes, dear. She was tenacious when there was a goal she wished to achieve, as clearly evident during the prolonged process to preserve the orchard by the sale of the property to the Conservation Trust. She made this possible by negotiating behind the scenes with private and public entities, and more importantly, willing to sell the orchard below market value. We were able to glean information about John Morrison from some Littleton residents who knew him. One common reaction I observed, and I should say quite often, can best be summed up with the phrase, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. People had a story to tell about Morrison, but were reluctant to share it. Apparently, he often came across as being quite gruff, and upon his retirement, he was able to follow his interest in farming with the purchase of the orchard, and he also owned and operated cattle farms in New Brunswick, Canada. He enjoyed world travel, hunting, fishing with friends. I don't know how many friends he had, but that's what it said. And he belonged to many clubs and organizations. Morrison also served on numerous town committees and boards. My take on John Morrison is that his persona was the unintended consequence of his career path. In order to flourish in the construction business, he had to have a thick skin, be willing to make difficult decisions, and tell people what they needed to hear. I'd like to think that he's like a marshmallow being baked over a fire, crusty on the outside and gooey on the inside. How else can one explain his desire to preserve rather than sell the orchard, especially since his business background would be screaming, get the best deal? He had to have a soft spot in him that he kept hidden from view. Vincent Cooper could be the alter ego to Morrison. A gregarious individual who took a lot of pride in his work, his family, and his hometown. His appearance generally belied the fact that he was a true Renaissance man. Cooper provided funds for the restoration of the bell tower at his alma mater. He was a fervent supporter of the town library and has funded trusts that promote the arts, literature, academic scholarships, and was himself a lifelong learner. When asked about Cooper, most people knew him as the guy on Great Road who doesn't wear shoes. He apparently was a good baseball player, loved to tell a story, or two, or three, and had an incredibly dry sense of humor. You can get a collection of describing life in Littleton during the first half of the 20th century and a good perspective of who Vincent Cooper was by reading a series of pamphlets that he wrote. These are available here in the library. This is one of them, Memories from the Snake Pit is the title. Who else but Cooper could come up with a name like that? His intent was to raise funds for the library through the sale of the writings. However, he accomplished much more than that, unintended consequence of what he did. I'd like to read a few words written by a primary source who knew all of our benefactors. These were obtained from Nancy Bradbury via Chris Faulkner. Quote, "Good men both, one gruff, other so friendly. One filled with pride of large family, the other few known. Both accomplished Littletonians. But look at the gift of education they both established, Eunice too. The land, one cluttered, one other pristine. They worked, loved, and wished to be conserved. Different men for sure, but what generous gifts and legacies to their town, Littleton. Their names rightly perpetuated." I'm almost done. I'm sure that when the Morrisons sought to establish a scholarship trust fund, John's intent was to recognize talent and address a financial need similar to what he confronted at UVM. Despite all the successes he experienced during his life journey, he probably wondered how things would have worked out had he finished his undergraduate studies. Vincent Cooper, a man who loved the dirt under his feet, on the other hand, was able to continue his studies because an uncle, Frank M., provided the necessary funds for him to do so. To honor this gift, Cooper established the F.M. Kimball Second Scholarship Fund. It's early morning in the spring. The air is cool and crisp, and the mist dissipates. You can first smell and then see the blossoms of on the apple orchard on the trees. The resulting sense of nature's wonder is probably what moved the Morrisons to reflect on their life stories and preserve the orchard. And if you hesitate for a moment, after passing through the entry doors to the library, you may feel the presence of Vincent welcoming you inside as you gaze about from the Cooper lobby. Legacy indeed. On behalf of the selection committee, we wish all of our recipients success in your endeavors during your life journey as you forge your own personal legacy. Congratulations to all of you. And it's my honor and pleasure to introduce a former recipient, now an alum from UMass Amherst, Katie Norton. Please come up. Katie will share a collection of special moments with you. It's been wonderful to see her go through her career as a college student, and looking forward to where she moves on to. Katie.
So I would like to start off with, I did print out some copies of this speech. I am hard of hearing, so I do prefer to just read along with speeches. So if you do want to, there's some copies over here. I was going to put them in the back, but I was late, so. Good evening. I would first like to thank the Kimball-Morrison Scholarship Committee for this opportunity to speak to all of you tonight, as well as for all of you for being here. My name is Katie Norton, and I graduated from Middleton High School in 2018, and I just graduated from UMass Amherst with a degree from the Eisenberg School of Management in Management last month. I was lucky enough to be awarded each year of college, and this contributed not only to my ability to go to college, but also allowed me to focus on academics and other parts of college rather than working long hours during the year to pay for it. At my last and final scholarship interview with Kimball-Morrison last year, I remember saying freshman and sophomore Katie never would have embraced disability as a positive thing. But learning how to embrace it, I was different, and that this was okay was a slow process. I was born with severe to profound bilateral hearing loss, and I got my first hearing aids at 9 months old. I entered the Littleton public school system in first grade. With hearing loss comes needing accommodations such as closed captioning of educational videos, teachers repeating what students said, mufflers on the bottoms of chairs, and more. Sometimes, though, accommodations are not always followed, and that's where advocacy to make them happen comes in. In high school and earlier, I never embraced my hearing loss and that it was part of my identity, so I did nothing when an issue arose. Whenever I had a problem with access needs, I would lean on my mom to advocate for me, and she would be the one to email whatever teacher was relevant. Then in college, I took my first management course sophomore year, and I experienced a professor who didn't want to accommodate my needs at all. For the first time, I was faced with a situation where I had to fully advocate for myself without my mom or people who knew me for my whole life to back me up. One of the most helpful pieces of assistive technology I use is called an FM system. I actually forgot to bring it tonight, but it's about the size of a pen. The teacher wears it, and it picks up their voice, and that sound goes right to my hearing aids. Kind of how when you listen to music through AirPods, the sound goes right from your phone into your ears, that direct connection. This technology is crucial in my understanding of speech because it helps to mask background noise and ensures that this speech is delivered right to my ears without any interruptions. This professor refused to wear it because he didn't want anything around his neck, despite him wearing literally the tightest tie I've ever seen. I was terrified to stand up to this tenured professor who a lot of students loved and respected, but I knew I was entitled by law to receive these accommodations. I met with him during office hours a couple of days later and fully stressed not only the legal requirement that he must accommodate me, but also I deserve equal access to this course just like every other student in that room. He eventually agreed, and I was left happy knowing that I did stand up for myself, but not quite filled with confidence yet. Then the pandemic arrived 2 months later. All of a sudden, my means of communication were completely stripped away and out of my control. As a hard of hearing person, I rely on lip reading, which is the way the mouth moves in relation to sound. And when face masks cover a person's mouth, lip reading is out of the question. Almost overnight, I could no longer interact with the cashier at the store. I couldn't understand what my mom said to me when we were out, and I couldn't even order food. Being really frustrated that the world wasn't accessible to me anymore, I took to social media to share these thoughts. Some of you may know, but my KTN Lifts Instagram page initially started as a lifting page, and I would just casually share my lifts and also just mention that I had hearing loss, but it wasn't really a focus. Seeing that there was a real need for education and advocacy in the deaf and hard of hearing community, I slowly decided to be that person for them. I started sharing stories about growing up with hearing loss, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just little moments of living with it is like. Initially, I was afraid that people wouldn't be interested, but shockingly, this was the opposite. So many deaf and hard of hearing people messaged me, thanking me for destigmatizing hearing loss and showing them that it's okay to have it. Even people without hearing loss were so interested in this stuff, and they felt more comfortable to interact with someone hard of hearing in the future, applying what they learned from my page. This outpouring of positive response made me realize that I can embrace that I am different without feeling shame that I am different. Growing up in this world, we are taught that we should blend in and be as normal as possible to get certain opportunities, whether that means teaching deaf people listening and spoken language instead of sign language, or putting autistic children through applied behavioral analysis therapy, or anything that assimilates individuals with disability to a culture that doesn't have people with disabilities. So for my entire life, until I turned 19, I lived with shame that I had a disability. I never addressed myself as, I'm Katie and I have hearing loss. It was, I'm Katie. Oh, and I have hearing loss. But for the first time in my life, I embraced that those two things go hand in hand, and they shaped me to be the person I am today. So now you may be thinking to yourself, well, what does hearing loss have to do with me? And maybe you do have a personal connection, but even if you don't, there's still a takeaway. It's important to embrace that you are different and what makes you different in a positive way, because you would not be the person you are today, and you would not be sitting in this room receiving a scholarship tonight without what makes you different. Maybe your family barely makes enough to make ends meet, and you feel different because other kids are getting more clothes, going on more vacations, playing more sports. But look at it this way. You might have had to start working earlier than your peers, but this increased your maturity and developed your working skills to a higher level than your peers. Maybe you've always been shy, and this has made you feel different from everyone else. You try to hide it and you feel ashamed of it, but why not embrace yourself just the way you are and think about what advantages you can take from it? For example, has it made you more sensitive to the emotions of others? Has it helped you be a better friend? Maybe you've never liked sports and athletics, but you feel different because of how highly emphasized it is in this community. You may have experienced feeling left out because all of your friends play sports and they're busy after school with it. But there's an opportunity here. You have more free time to focus on other interests and shine in another way, such as writing, acting, coding, and more. I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of the journey I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of the opportunity I have to take something and make something of it. However, it's okay if your journey is slow and has a lot of bumps in the road. I know mine did. When you leave here today, I want you to write down something that makes you different on a piece of paper and stick it in a drawer and just forget about it. And then when you find it 5, 10, even 15 years later, I have a feeling that what you wrote down will be the quality that has made you succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. So with that, I'll have the first presenter come up, Steve Gentilly. All right. And Steve, if you could just, when you're done, let's just call up the next presenter. Sure. Great, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. And I guess someone has to be first. Right, Caitlin? Come on up. Get it over with. You made it through the interview, you can make it through this. Caitlin is a 2017 Littleton High School graduate and a 2021 graduate of Framingham State University. So you might be asking, well, what is she doing in this room, standing here about to receive a scholarship? Well, an interesting thing happened along the way in the walkways and classrooms of Framingham State. Among the flurry of science and health-related courses that Caitlin was excelling in, a pandemic struck. Not a local pandemic either. It was through this COVID time that Caitlin recognized the strain being placed on our healthcare system, healthcare workers, and in particular, nurses. It was during this time she made up her mind what she wanted to do with her life. Become a nurse. And she didn't take the slow path to nursing. Nope. Caitlin is enrolled in the Accelerated Bachelor of Nursing program at Mass General Hospital. That's the MGHIHP, for those of you scoring at home. When she's not working 2 jobs to help pay for school, Caitlin is either in school or studying, but somehow she finds the time to continue her volunteerism. Particularly, I'll mention her work with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a national nonprofit with a local chapter that is tackling the issues of providing beds so that no child has to sleep on the floor. It's Caitlin's dream to become a nurse. It will be her patient's dream to have her as a nurse. Please join me in congratulating Miss Caitlin Krause on her Kimball-Morrison Scholarship. Michaela. Miss Michaela Anjorian. She and I are no strangers to one another. I have had the privilege of being one of Michaela's basketball coaches for the past few years, and we have enjoyed a lot of time together on and off the court. Michaela describes herself as a non-traditional learner, and she's preparing to use her time at Endicott College to gain a degree in secondary education and become a middle school teacher. Yeah, you heard that right. A middle school teacher. Who says that? Michaela didn't arbitrarily pick middle school for her future. As you'll learn, it's a well thought out plan. I should say empathy-laden plan and path. And this future path starts with Michaela looking back. Back to that student who didn't learn the traditional way, or who learned at a different pace than her peers. The student who dreaded spelling bees as a youngster, who can now empathize with the middle schoolers who are no doubt at a tender age at their maturation to adulthood. She'll leverage her own experiences and the tools she developed to help her excel in the classroom to make school a better place for her students. During the school year, Michaela has had the opportunity to participate in an internship working with the middle school students in the science classroom. She will tell you it was the best part of her day. Just being able to work with those kids and help put them on a path to succeed. You know how you dreaded those spelling bees so much? It's time. It's time for spelling bee. But I won't put you on the spot. I'll answer it. Your word is success. S-U-C-C-E-S-S. And now, as you know, in those spelling bees, we have to use it in a sentence. I know Michaela Anjuria will be a success in her future endeavors and as a teacher because she'll use her own past experiences to make a positive difference for others around her. Congratulations, Michaela, as a member of this selection committee and as a coach. I am very proud of you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mary Herndon for our next awards.
Okay, up next we have Sasha Pavlov. So Sasha was here last year as well. She's a 2021 graduate of Littleton High School. She's currently at Northeastern University pursuing a double major in civil engineering and architectural studies. During her freshman year, she's gotten particularly interested in affordable housing and sustainability, a great way to go with that double major. And another one that's kind of curious, how architecture and design can be used to tailor spaces for living in a pandemic. I wonder where that came from, right? When we interviewed Sasha for a scholarship, she was actually in Italy, studying architecture with her classmates. We know you speak Russian. Do you speak Italian now as well?
That's like 2 words.
Okay, all right. So obviously she's off to a great start in her college career, and we look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Congratulations, Sasha. Up next is Tanya Rizzi. Tanya. So also, Tanya was here last year as well, a 2021 graduate of Littleton High School. She's studying chemistry, pre-med actually, at George Washington University. This year she's maintained an impressive 3.65 GPA. Perhaps just as impressive is how much she's engaged during her freshman year and embrace the opportunities that GW offers her. Tanya volunteered at a soup kitchen, participated in band, both symphonic band and pep band. She also joined the American Medical Physiology Club, and if that's not enough, she signed up for an EMT course. So Tanya, you truly impressed us with your enthusiasm and your willingness to get out there, I think was your words in the interview, but you're definitely taking advantage of all GW has to offer, and we see great things ahead for you. So congratulations. Okay, Abigail and Liv. Hey, Abby. All right, Abby is currently in her sophomore year at Mass Maritime Academy, majoring in emergency management. So this includes training in disaster relief, law enforcement, and first responder type activities. She's also involved in Mass Maritime Academy's Coast Guard Auxiliary University program, giving you various certifications as well as allowing you to participate in local auxiliary flotillas. If that's not enough, she's also going into basic training this winter. So congratulations about that. Abby is on the women's soccer team, and you are the team's representative for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. We're so happy to have you once again back for a scholarship, and we look forward to seeing your continued success at Mass Maritime. So congratulations. All right, and Larry's going to give the next round.
Now I'd like to introduce Megan Peterson. Megan is a scholarship recipient, presently entering her final year of studies at UMass Lowell to earn a doctorate of education with a focus on STEM and ESL. Doctorate. Watch out. She's been teaching science and engineering for the past 6 years at Lowell High School. Megan's research in her degree program examines how the students are engaged in the classroom and what the teachers do to promote that engagement. She's passionate about her role as an educator and the impact she can have on her students as they realize their potential and discover new interests. This is especially noted as her students are prepared for a senior year engineering internship. It should be noted that Megan has stepped up into a leadership role in the Lowell High School community as well as UMass Lowell. She has mentored new high school teachers and future teachers in the You Teach program. Megan is the type of educator who makes and leaves an impression on her students. She is tuned into what it takes to make a classroom and a school community succeed in the 21st century. Congratulations, Megan. I have the honor to also read to you some information about Elizabeth Estep. She is not able to attend because she's involved in a summer internship right now, but I'd like Mom to come up. Come on up. Yep, come on. Right there. 1 foot on either side of that line. Come on. Got it. Yeah. Follow directions. Elizabeth is a returning scholarship recipient. She's wrapping up her undergraduate studies at Bentley University with a degree in management, concentrating on human resources with a major in diversity and society. She has 1 remaining semester of studies and has been recognized as a President's List student and is on track to graduate magna cum laude in December of this year. Pretty good, huh? She did it. While at Bentley, Elizabeth made some significant observations and decisions about her future. Social justice became a driving force for her, and she realized that in order to have an impact in this area, she needed to switch gears and change her major. She will be the first to tell you that that was the right thing to do. Her long-term goal is to be in a position where she can ensure inclusion, diversity, and equity are better addressed in the business world. Glass ceilings and walls will be a thing of the past once Elizabeth gets going. It's been a wonder and a pleasure to be part of Elizabeth's personal and soon-to-be professional growth in awarding the scholarships to her. Congratulations, Mom and Elizabeth. Madison Schufrin. Ready? Okay. Madison is a 2022 Littleton High School graduate who will be attending NC State University in the fall, majoring in biology. While at Littleton High School, Madison would best be seen, like, everywhere. She served in student government and student council, elected as a class officer for 3 years, and served as student ambassador to the Littleton School Board during her senior year. Like, everywhere. Let's not overlook Spanish Club, Peer Leaders Club, Humanitarian Club, National Honor Society, all this while being a two-sport athlete. Like, everywhere. All this while achieving high honors every term and a grade point average of nearly 5.0. During her senior year, Madison was recognized for her outstanding attitude, character, and contributions by the Principal's Award. Madison is a compassionate and confident young lady who intends to make a difference. She noted that the inspiration to do so came from the stories her father presented from his work in biotechnology and its impact on people's lives. Madison not only has a role model that she looks up to, she is a role model for all of her peers. A bright future is on the horizon for Maddie. Congratulations, Maddie. Okay, Melinda's next. All set? Okay. Okay, Melinda will take the podium.
See if we can get this down a little bit. There we go. I'm going to start off by reading a little bit about Elea Flockhart, who cannot be here tonight. She is an honors student at UMass Amherst and is doing a dual major in microbiology and public health. Her goal for the future is to earn a PhD in immunology or virology and research infectious diseases. As a past scholarship recipient, it has been interesting to see Elea grow both academically and personally. In the past year, among other volunteer efforts, she's made time to work with the Residential Life Office on campus, writing letters to help incoming freshmen, feel a part of the university, despite the challenges of the pandemic. She has also undertaken an internship researching the effects of climate change on plants. Specifically, she's been studying the ways to improve root growth of cereal crops such as wheat. This research is one of the important parts of creating resilient cereal crops to help feed many people. By this time next year, Elea will have completed her undergraduate studies at UMass. She has shown that she can overcome challenges due to pandemic restrictions and also communicated her passion for her research. We are lucky that people such as Elea are fascinated by and willing to do the vital research needed to improve future public health outcomes. So, congratulations, Elea, and let's all give her a hand. May I ask Ann Lee to come up? Thank you. So, Ann is headed to Tufts University in the fall to pursue a degree in economics with a STEM certification. Thereafter, she's planning to attend law school, if that weren't enough, so that she can practice immigration law. As a first-generation immigrant, she's in a unique position to help people coming to this country navigate the cultural, academic, and economic challenges associated with immigration. As preparation for this challenging career path, Anne has been a stellar student at Littleton High School, taking many honors level classes and completing many AP courses. She is part of the National Honor Society and has been recognized by the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, among other organizations. In her spare time, Anne has been a member of the Littleton robotics team, on the student ministry team at her church, and an assistant tennis coach at summer camps. To say nothing of her piano performances at Indian Hill Music and her work as a high school assistant at Tiger's Nut. It is Anne's goal to direct her energy to making the world a more equitable place. With her work ethic and her clear-headed analysis about how to use her talents, she's off to a great start. Congratulations. Anthony Yang. I hope you don't, Tony Yang is a young man with a mission, that of serving his community through law enforcement. He's also someone who cares deeply about family and has made it his goal to be financially independent and to pay his own way through college as much as possible. He's reaching this difficult goal through hard work, talent, and practicality, while also maintaining his high academic standing at Northeastern University. Not easy, I'm sure. He is currently participating in a co-op work experience as a public safety officer at the Boston Medical Center. There, he has been exposed to the challenges of community-oriented policing. He has learned firsthand how important de-escalation strategies can be when dealing with upset and troubled people, and has come to understand why equitable law enforcement is crucial to the health of our communities. In addition, he uses his linguistic abilities as the son of Asian immigrants to act as a Mandarin Chinese translator in the Public Safety Department. What Tony has been learning and experiencing at Boston Medical Center has made him even more thoughtful about and committed to his goal of pursuing a career in law enforcement. We'd like you to join us in congratulations. And Steve again with his second set.
Our next recipient is Paige Hornbeck. Paige is not here today. Her mom and dad are here, and I won't make you come up. No. Paige, not surprisingly, she's at school helping out with student orientation. If Paige was standing here, I would say to her, Paige, it's a great day to be a Wildcat. And she would say, every day is a great day to be a Wildcat. That's just a little something they do at the University of New Hampshire. My daughter got her bachelor's degree and master's degree from UNH, so I can attest that most days in Durham are great. Paige has been here before, as this is her second time receiving a Kimball-Morrison Scholarship. You know, we have a very challenging task, very difficult task of sorting through dozens of these applications and essays and interviews to make our yearly selections. So it's really nice to get some validation when we do make a good decision, and Paige certainly provides that for us, one of many. With a 3.65 GPA in her first semester, Paige has completed her freshman year and well on her way to a degree in civil engineering with minors in architectural studies and community planning. Like many things in Paige's life, this major was chosen out of a love for community getting involved, and giving back. From her essay, Paige has been described by some as a science geek and a tree hugger, which she'll readily accept. But when you combine these qualities with an interest and passion in philanthropy and making an impact on society, it makes for a very determined, driven, and successful civil engineer. As we know, community is critically important to Paige, and there's no doubt in my mind that she will make a difference, not only by helping to build sustainable and eco-friendly communities, but by participating in her own community to the fullest. Please join me in congratulating Paige and Mom and Dad on receiving her second Kimball-Morrison Scholarship. Lexi. Also, Lexi George is no stranger to being in this spot, as she too is a second-time recipient of a Kimball-Morrison Scholarship. And with a 3.91 GPA after her first year at the University of Vermont, it's easy to see why. But there is so much more about this young woman than great grades. During our interview with the applicants, we asked them what they thought the most differentiating qualities were. And Lexi told us she was driven, she was curious, and she was kind. Most kids do not like to talk about themselves, Lexi included, but her answer was firm. Kind? All through high school, Lexi knew that she loved the sciences, especially biology and chemistry. But she was concerned about a career in one of these fields because she hadn't figured out how she was going to use it to help others. You see, helping others is innate in Lexi. President of the Best Buddies program in high school, donating her time with Loaves and Fishes, helping children with special needs to ride a bike. The list goes on. And oh yeah, she got to UVM and helped start a Best Buddies program there too. That's a student organization that fosters friendships with students that are intellectually or developmentally disabled. Curious? I think Lexi said it best in her essay. In my classes, I have been learning so many new things that I previously failed to even question. I have questioned why the world around me works the way it does and look for solutions to many of today's problems. I have tried so many new things which have allowed me to further understand and discover who I am. And she's driven. For the past 5 years, Lexi has always worked at least 2 part-time jobs. At UVM, she's gotten involved, joining the outing club, the ski club, and women in STEM. Most importantly, she has turned her passion for the sciences towards a future degree in medicine, where no doubt she'll combine that drive, curiosity, and kindness to finding new ways to help others. Congratulations, Lexi. We haven't heard yet from Fred, but here he comes.
Steve's always a tough act to follow. We have Riley, come on. I need new glasses, so I'm going to have to hold mine. Riley is a bright, dedicated, energetic young woman. Beyond her considerable success in the classroom, Riley spends much of her time running. Whether it's cross-country, over hills and through the woods, around the track, or back and forth behind the counter as a barista at Starbucks. She continually demonstrates her commitment to excellence and leadership. Riley's community service includes working at the Littleton Community Garden, being a mentor at various running camps, and supporting Lazarus House, a shelter for battered women and families in the Lawrence, Mass. area. This coming September, Riley will be attending Washington University in St. Louis, where she will be majoring in biology and human sciences on her journey to become a nutritionist. Please join me in congratulating Riley on being awarded FM Kimball Scholarship. Emma, I messed up. Or you can have your mom come up if you prefer. I think this is actually the first Sister Act that we've had certainly in a while, or in the 5 years that I've been involved. Emma, during her years at Littleton High School, has certainly made a difference. Her optimism, empathy, and hard work is shown through as she has dedicated herself to peer leadership, being a kindness ambassador, and spending many hours in support of the local Best Buddies organization. When not in school, Emma works at Market Basket, where she has been promoted to an assistant manager. One project Emma shared with us at the end of the interview, I kind of sandbagged her and asked if there was anything that we didn't ask. What would she like us to know about her? And she said that one thing that she was proud of was she was able to save enough money to investigate, spec out the components, purchase the components, assemble the components, and have her PC work the first time she tried to turn it on. So she was really proud of that as a sort of a self-driven activity that she went through. Emma's impressive academic accomplishments have been rewarded by being offered a position in the Lieutenant Colonel James F. Sheehan Honors Program at Worcester State University, where she will major in early childhood education and psychology. Her dream job would be to come back to Littleton and Shaker Lane in the K through 2 program. Please join me in congratulating Emma on being awarded a Kimball Scholarship. And last but certainly not least, Emmy Richards. Are there any math majors in the room? Nobody wants to admit to it. Okay. All right, I have a math problem for you. Take 1,560, 35, and 5.08. What do you get? Littleton High School 2022 valedictorian. I just found that out today when I looked on the website, so I had to throw that in. I don't normally do this with numbers, but with a 5.08 GPA, 1560 SATs, and a composite score of 35 in her ACTs, along with a myriad of other awards through her high school years, there's not much more to say about Emmy's academic prowess, except that she was valedictorian. This being said, I'd like to relate the following from her scholarship application. Quote, "While I'm grateful for all these activities and accolades, I am mindful that they are simply just a part of me. They do not define me," unquote. As a self-proclaimed military kid, back in my day it wasn't military kid, but whatever, and butterfly, I might add, Emmy moved around quite a bit. Just prior to her alighting in Littleton, her family spent 8 years near West Point, where her dad was a teacher. She arrived in Littleton for her junior and senior years, where she quickly found her way through the maze called Littleton High School. Emmy settled into the community around her. She continued to flourish academically as well as personally, whether working at a local farm, being an assistant teacher at the middle school, playing soccer and lacrosse, or volunteering in general. We are fortunate to have the lovely and capable butterfly called Littleton her community. In the fall, Emmy will be entering the Global Scholars Program at American University in Washington, D.C., where she'll be studying international law. Her long-term goal is to, quote, make a difference in immigration policy reform, unquote. Please join me in recognizing Emmy for her being awarded a John and Eunice Morrison Scholarship. I just have a couple of quick housekeeping things that I'd like to finish up. We're going to ask all of the winners and committee members to assemble for a photograph. And I don't know if you noticed on the slideshow, we sort of scrolled all of the past winners that we had photographs of. So if you come back next year, you'll see yourself up here again. And the second thing that I'd like to mention is that while this year we tried to put together a slideshow and to recognize past winners, we're also putting together a legacy book where this will be put into the history room of the library, and you'll be there as long as the library's here. And one thing that I would ask, and I'm sort of putting out a plea, I've been doing a lot of research on Vin Cooper and the Morrisons, and we do have photographs of Vin, a couple of photographs of Vin in the slideshow. And while John Morrison was very active in the town of Littleton, so active that the 1992 town report was actually dedicated to him for his service to the town. And the only dedication that we could find going all the way back to 1992 with no photograph was John Morrison. So if anybody out there knows where we can find a photograph of either John or Eunice or both, I'd certainly appreciate your helping us out with that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tyler to close and look forward to seeing many of you next year.
Yeah, so as Fred said, we're going to, I think, go out back through the back doors and go outside, take a quick picture. I just want to, again, thanks everyone for coming. Congratulations. Thanks for being a part of the town, and really excited to hear more about your journeys in the future. The one other thing, for those of you that can stay a couple extra minutes, we would love some help. Just quick putting the chairs away after you take the picture, or even parents could help with that while we're outside. All right. Thanks everybody. Congratulations again.